Hi everyone, Larissa Ione here. Recently, my Belgian Malinois had a really bad accident and nearly died. And a lot of you have been asking what exactly happened. So grab a beer or a glass of wine or a coffee, sit down because I've got a story for you. First, let's talk about the Belgian Malinois. They are an incredibly energetic breed. They are super smart. They are super loyal. They are a wonderful dog for the right owner and the right circumstance. These dogs, they don't know how to stop. You, as their caretaker, have to be the ones to tell them when to stop and what's not safe because they are absolutely fearless. They have no sense of self-preservation. And seriously, they are absolutely fearless. My dog has chased bears away from our house. He will take on anything except cardboard boxes, which are apparently terrifying. But they really are. They're wonderful dogs, but they're crazy. Just wait till you hear how crazy he is. So we take the dogs for their evening walk. It's about 7:15 and we needed to get them their exercise. So we're walking our trails like we usually do, heading for a place to play fetch with the dogs. We take frisbees and balls. And as we walk, we keep our trails clear of fallen branches, weeds, things like that. And Brian had picked up a stick and tossed it off of the trail. Well, Duvel came from out of nowhere and he hit that stick at a full dead run. And suddenly he just hit the ground. He hit the ground, pawing his face. He's crawling around and we knew that he had grabbed the stick this way. So we ran to him. He had blood pouring from his mouth. I held him while Brian opened his mouth and saw a massive hole in the back of his throat. He was bleeding terribly. We were a long ways from the house. So Brian ran back to the house with Hexa. She's our King Shepherd. He ran back to the house, grabbed the car and drove to where I was with Duvel. But this took a long time. It was 10 to 15 minutes because we were a long ways from the house. Fortunately, I had my phone. I don't usually have it with me on walks, but this time I did. And while he was gone, I was calling the vet. It's not a 24-hour vet, but they are always willing to come in for emergencies. And fortunately, the vet was already there because there was another emergency she was working with, a dog with porcupine quills, which happens around here a lot. So when Brian got there, we loaded Duvel in the car and headed straight for the vets. Unfortunately, what should have been a 10-minute trip turned into 30 minutes because of road construction. It was horrifying. I was in the back with Duvel. I really thought he was going to bleed out before we got there. Fortunately, by the time we got there, the bleeding had subsided. So the vet, she thought she could maybe close the hole, but it wasn't a 24-hour staffed office. So because the airway is involved, she really wanted us to be someplace where he could be monitored 24/7. So she gave him a shot to help keep swelling down and sent us to Madison, which was 2 hours away. It was a really long 2-hour drive. We were terrified that his airway was going to close on the way or that he was going to bleed out. Even though the bleeding had subsided, it was still a possibility. We didn't know if that stick had nicked an artery or a vein. So we got to Madison, got him in there into the vet. And by now it is about midnight. So we got him in there and we immediately felt better because at least he was in a place where if his airway was closing, they were there. They could take care of him. So we waited for their initial assessment and they said, go home. We've got this. We'll call you in the morning when the surgeon gets here. We didn't want to go, but Brian had left in such a hurry that we'd left the house unlocked, the lights on. I don't know, I think the oven was on. Hexa hadn't been fed. We hadn't been fed. The cat hadn't been fed. We were exhausted and tired. So we came home, and we got home about 3:15. We didn't sleep at all that night, obviously. So we just were up waiting for that call. So the call came, the initial one came at 7 o'clock in the morning. They said that they were getting ready to sedate him and do a really thorough exam and get his x-rays. They said, you know, if he needs surgery, is it okay? Of course it was okay. So they called us a couple hours later and said that they'd closed the hole in his upper palate. So that was good. But they also found a 5-inch stick deep in his throat. So when he had hit that like this, it had actually gone down his throat, broke off, punctured the upper palate. They said that he was so lucky to be alive. It had punctured his mediastinum, so when they removed the stick, it actually opened up that hole into his chest cavity, and he was getting air into his chest cavity, blood. It was really dire at this time. They managed to close the hole about halfway, but they had to leave it open because there was still wood in the hole, and they couldn't wash it out like they normally would because water would have gotten into his chest cavity as well. So basically what it came down to was recovery is going to take a really long time. That wood has to work its way out. There's a risk of infection. There's a risk that the wood could get into the airway. There are just really a lot of complications, and especially back then, a few days ago. He's actually doing much better now, just so you know. But at the time, it was really dire. They had to put a feeding tube in through his throat, in his neck, so that he can be fed and watered and given his meds that way for the next 3 weeks. And we were able to go get him. When we got the call that we were able to go get him, we were so excited because it had been several days of just hell. No, maybe not several, but it was 3. It was 3 days of hell, but they needed him to come get us because they knew we could take care of him the way he needed to be taken care of, and his mental state had gotten really bad. So we went and got him, and he was so excited to see us. He was just wags, and it was really hard to keep him calmed down. And he was so thrilled to see us, and we were thrilled to see him. So we got him home, and he slept the entire way. He was so exhausted from being stressed out and not being able to sleep there. So we got him home, and now he is being fed every couple hours. We're giving him food and water through the tube, which has been just an interesting experience. But he really is doing well. We're very happy about that, obviously. And I do want to right now thank you all for all of your prayers and your well wishes and your healing vibes. Everything you have sent to us has made a huge difference. This has been really rough, and it's awesome to know that he's got all that love behind him. Oh, and this is it's part of the stick that went down his throat. You can see the grass on the end of it here. That's where it jammed into the ground, and then he hit it like this and jammed it down his throat. The vets said that it was a 5-inch stick, but it was really actually closer to about 3.5 or 4. But still, this was a good size stick that went down his throat, and it was in his throat for over 12 hours while he was at the vet before they were able to remove it. So anyway, that is what happened, and he is such a lucky dog. We are lucky that we have the ability and the means to take care of him the way he needs to be taken care of. I'm an author, so I work from home, and Brian is retired. So this is our life for the next couple of weeks. It's what you do. So anyway, that is the story of how Duvel almost died. And that's just one of the stories. This is just the most recent. Wait until I tell you about the time he jumped off a bridge. So anyway, thank you again for all your support. It has meant so much to all of us. And I'll be sure to keep you updated with everything that's going on. And I've got actually a video coming up of how we tube feed him, in case you're interested. I know, it's fascinating. So anyway, take care. See you later.